today with Mr Akintunde Oyebode, the Executive Secretary of Lagos State Employment Trust Fund.
Very well, thank you. So the fund was set up by the Lagos State government primarily to support job creation across Lagos State, but with a heavy focus on youth. So we're set up to do a bunch of things. One is to provide low interest loans to micro, small and medium enterprises. So we offer loans of up to 5 million naira at an interest rate of 5% per annum. And the idea behind those loans is to provide concessionary loans that allow businesses grow and therefore need to employ more people. In addition to that, we also support skills development. So we recognize that there's a skills deficit across the country. And so we look for young, unemployed, but willing to be trained Lagos residents, and then train and place them into existing jobs. So we don't train people just outright for the sake of training. We train them and link that training to a job placement at the end of the program. So that's primarily what we do. Of course, in addition to those two initiatives, we also ensure we improve the policy environment. So we're constantly in the air of the Lagos State government on how to make Lagos more business friendly. And of course, we then have a program that supports early stage technology startups. Oh, definitely. As of today, we've got tons of borrowers who are either fish farmers or poultry farmers, in some cases who have some primary produce. So we're very big on agriculture. But of course, people ask me that all the time, that Lagos has limited land space for agric. But the Ekpe and Ikorodu divisions especially are very strong agric hubs and clusters for Lagos State. So we're very big on agriculture. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's the second largest sector of our loan book as of today, behind wholesale and retail trade.
So one of the challenges we have in the agric space is access to finance. Yep. Everybody can get money. So what if a smallholder farmer wanted to get money from Lagos State? First of all, what are they? How people access it?
For smallholder farmers, first, like I said, our maximum loan amount is 5 million naira. But our agric offering also includes a moratorium period of today up to 6 months to allow the business stabilize, to allow for planting, etc., or preparations before you then go on to the sales process. But the requirements are pretty straightforward. You have to be resident in Lagos, so you must have a LASRO card. Depending on how much you want to borrow, you need to have a guarantor or two guarantors. You must have done some tax registration, and paid your taxes. So for existing businesses, you must be fully paid up from a tax perspective. For new businesses, you must have some tax registration.
So you have for new businesses?
Oh yeah, but it's for new businesses, we don't lend more than 250,000 naira. So it's much smaller sized loans. And the regular stuff you would normally get to answer. What do you want to use the money for? How do you intend to pay back? Show us some financial history. In many instances, provide us bank statements. But very importantly, we don't ask for any collateral. So we're a collateral-free lender, I like to say, primarily because we're the government, and we understand that to deepen access to finance, you must recognize that 90% of the micro, small and medium enterprises operating in Nigeria have no collateral to pledge for their loans.
Oh, so it's easy peasy?
Pretty much. If you're a serious person, it's fairly straightforward. And the best part is you don't even have to see anybody, because you can start and complete the application online.
Do a lot of people know about this program? I've heard about it from the local people, with the markets, the smallholder farmers, they're aware of this program.
Well, awareness is something you'd never stop trying to build. As at today, we've been to, I believe now, 16 of 20 local governments across Lagos State. And trust me, we're not sitting in nice fancy hotel rooms having these conversations. We're going to local government areas and we're talking to the people. We've met today, as at today now, over 15,000 people in those engagements. But that's not the end. We also have offices at the local government areas. to ensure that after we go and do the engagement, people can go back to those local government offices, our liaison offices in the local government areas for additional information, etc. So we'll continue to build, that awareness to the grassroots. But as of today, I think that we are definitely, people definitely know about us. And even if all the people in those locations don't know about us, the aim is to be more popular than LASMA. I always like to say within the next 2 years. Of course. Yes. So and we also try to host weekly clinics to ensure that it's not just enough telling you this is what we do and how you apply. We've also recognized from the existing loan applications we evaluated, we also recognize the need to educate people. Because sometimes, for example, people have a history of understating their business numbers. And then when they ask us for a loan of 2 million, we then approve, say, 400,000 based on the numbers they've provided. They then say, we were scared, we didn't know what you needed this information for. We actually do a lot more. So, just encouraging people to be more transparent with their reporting, and also encouraging them to ensure that they meet all the compliance requirements. Why it's important to pay your taxes, why it's important to ensure that you operate out of an approved location, etc. So, the capacity strengthening piece is also very critical. And it's even more critical in agriculture, where sometimes it's the methods more than anything that determine the winners and losers. I think that it's almost happening now. When we started being sector agnostic. Because we felt that to be inclusive, we should give every sector a chance. But like I said earlier, agric is the second largest book within our portfolio. So it's getting clearer to us that, of course, we need to have a dedicated agric program, and that's going to happen. But one of the things that we're doing now is the Lagos State government has a facility in Ekpe where it runs a youth empowerment scheme. And our aim is to take up use that facility as a breeding ground for the next set of agripreneurs. So it's a residential facility where you go to your classroom in there, you live there, the farms are there for the practical classes, and at the end of the program, we can then provide you capital to go and start your own farm or attach you to a large commercial agric project to work on. So, I always see this look of amazement when I speak about the facility, but it's been existing for a while, and some of the things that we are doing is just showcasing that a lot more and letting people within the agric space understand that within Lagos, there's actually some infrastructure to support agriculture. So what we're going to do now is start off with, I think we've decided to start off with 100 people. And it will be a 3 to 6 month program, right? So at the very least, in fact, I'll say it will be at least a 6 month program. So a 6 to 12 month program where you have to go through one full cycle. And you go from cultivation to actual sales. So you understand the cash conversion cycle, right, of a full season. And then when you're done with that, you then understand what it is to take crops from the ground to the store and make money from it, so we can then set you up to start your own farm. So we teach people, apart from just making money from the agric value chain, we teach them the whole cash conversion cycle, from where crops go into the ground to where they come out to the store, and at the end of the day, they can commercialize whatever subsector in agriculture they participate. So it's a fairly intensive program, but it's also very important to use these kind of programs to build the next generation of agripreneurs.
So what advice do you have? So this program, we're here for the Michigan State University and MasterCard program. They're trying to get youth involved in agriculture. So what advice do you have? What do you think about the program? And what advice do you have to have youth in agriculture?
I think I hear people say agric is sexy. I don't think all of that is true. I think it's hard work. So I don't think you should definitely get involved if you're not ready for the hard work. If you're not ready, to do the heavy lifting. So I'll say that, look, this thing, fortune favors the brave, and there'll always be winners. I've got friends today who have large rice farms from what was essentially a small business plan. So Nigeria is definitely ripe to pick winners, I think. And with the government's initiative to ensure that we consume a lot more of what we grow locally, it's only going to get better. So there's favorable tariff plans for local farmers. If I was a businessman, if I was in a public servant, I'll definitely be in that space. And there's definitely the consumption here. There's the demand here. So when we speak to poultry farmers, we're hearing that, their eggs are going off the shelves really quickly. So there's definitely an opportunity, but I think it's something that you've got to be very clear you are interested in, and you've got to recognize that you're going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting, regardless of where you are in that value chain, because it's going to get tough. And when it gets tough, you need to be sure that it's something you really want to do.
One of the questions I wanted to ask is, how long is LSETF, Lagos State Trust Fund?
How long has it been on? So we were inaugurated in March of 2016, so we're roughly, less than 18 months old. Okay, so we've received now, I think, about 10,000 applications, but it's a very competitive process, so we've only approved loans to maybe 2,300 people. Of that 2,300, 8,000 of them have actually received their loans. The others are going through the documentation process before disbursement happens.
So have there been any repayments?
Of course. Even now, today, I've seen repayment alerts saying that. So many of our loss ratios are still very low, and we hope to keep them very low. So we've started seeing repayments, and we've picked some really outstanding businesses, and I'm excited that the success stories we'll be able to demonstrate with this fund.
So the good business are paying?
Of course, they're good people, they pay their loans. The one thing I'd like people to know is that the fund is transparent, unbiased. So I will be really sad if you sat back and said, hey, this is a political game, or it's a gimmick, or they know who they want to give the money to. All of our beneficiaries today do not know anyone. And even if they do, it's been fortuitous. So I'll ask anyone who's a small business who needs funding for their business to please go on to www.lsetf.ng and apply to the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, because that's why we're there. We're there to support you. We're there to help you grow your business.